Hello everyone, welcome to the show. Your easy guide to English words you need to know. Let's go exploring far and near.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today you are traveling to a national park that is mostly made of water.
It is Voyageurs National Park in Minnesota. We are really glad you were joining us today.
We are going to explore a place that is, well, totally different from a usual vacation spot.
It really is. Voyageurs is a true hidden gem. It is located way up in the northern part of the United States, right on the border with Canada.
Right.
Because it is so far north, it is very far away from big cities and loud crowds. It is a place where you can find absolute peace and nature.
That sounds like a perfect escape.
Yeah.
So my goal today is to be your guide for useful English.
Exactly.
I will help you with the actual phrases you need to navigate this park. I want you to feel confident on your trip.
And I will share the fascinating stories, the wild animals, and the history behind the park. We really want to give you a complete picture today.
But right away, we have to mention the biggest surprise about Voyageurs.
Oh, definitely.
This is not a normal park with long paved roads and big parking lots. You actually have to leave your car behind at the gate.
Yeah, you really do leave the normal world behind. When you arrive, you park your vehicle, and, well, from that moment on, your journey changes completely.
You cannot take your car any further.
Right. You just leave it there.
So, if you cannot drive a car, how do you travel?
That is a great question. To answer that, we need to look at the environment itself.
Yes. Let's talk about the geography of the park. This brings us right into our Travel Skills 101.
To understand how to travel here, you have to look at the shape of the land and the water. Voyageurs is incredibly huge. It covers 218,000 acres of wild nature.
Wow, that is a lot of space.
It is. And here is the most amazing part. Almost 40% of the park is just water.
Almost half the park is water.
Yes.
That completely changes how you plan a trip. You are not packing for a road trip, you are packing for a boat trip.
Exactly. There are 4 major lakes inside the park boundaries. Their names are Rainy, Kabatugama, Namakan, and Sandpoint.
Okay, 4 big lakes.
And floating in those 4 massive lakes are over 500 different islands.
500 islands. I read in our notes that because you cannot drive to these islands, you absolutely must travel by boat.
Yes, there's simply no other way to get around.
So what kind of boats do people use?
Visitors usually rely on a canoe, a kayak, or a motorboat.
Let's explain those words. A canoe is a long, narrow boat, right?
Yes, a long boat that you move by paddling with your hands. You hold a paddle and push the water.
But a kayak.
A kayak is very similar, but usually built for just one person. It is a bit closer to the water.
Got it. And of course, a motorboat uses an engine, so it goes much faster across the big lakes.
Exactly.
This brings up a really important practical issue for tourists. Most people flying in from far away do not bring their own boat.
No, that would be very difficult to carry on an airplane.
Very difficult. So you will need to borrow one from a local shop for a fee. In English, we call this renting.
Renting. Yes, that is a great skill for any traveler.
Let's practice a very useful phrase you can use at the park gates or a local shop.
What should our listeners say when they walk into a rental shop?
A great phrase to remember is, I would like to rent a canoe.
I would like to rent a canoe.
It is simple and very polite. I would like to rent a canoe. Or you can change the last word and say, I would like to rent a kayak.
That is perfect. But what if you do not want to drive the boat yourself?
That is true. Navigating those big lakes can be intimidating if you do not have experience.
Right. Some visitors just want to relax. They want to let someone else drive them safely to their island.
That is a very common situation, and there's a perfect solution. You can use a water taxi.
A water taxi.
Yes, a water taxi is a small boat driven by a professional guide. You pay them to safely take you across the lake and drop you off at your campsite.
That sounds very relaxing.
It is. If you want to arrange this, you can ask a park ranger or a shop worker, how do I book a water taxi?
How do I book a water taxi? That word, book, is so useful.
Yes, it is. It just means to reserve or schedule your trip ahead of time.
So book means reserve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Practicing those simple phrases will make your arrival so much smoother. But now that we are talking about navigating the lakes, I need to give you a very strong, practical warning.
Oh, yes. Pay attention to this part.
This is something you must completely avoid doing when you visit Voyageurs National Park.
This might be the most important safety tip we share today. The wild environment here is very different from a city.
Do not rely on your cell phone for directions.
Never.
Let me say that again. Do not try to use your phone to navigate the lakes. Cell phone service is almost non-existent in this park.
Right. Your phone will not have a signal. Your map apps simply will not work.
It is basically a piece of glass in your pocket.
Exactly. And it is extremely easy to get lost in that giant maze of water. Think about it. There are hundreds of small channels and over 500 islands.
They probably all look the same after a while.
They really do. When you're sitting in a small boat out on the water, all the green trees and rocky islands start to look exactly the same. If your phone battery dies or loses its signal, you could be in serious danger.
So we know the phones will not work. How do we find our way safely through the maze?
The solution is traditional, but it is completely reliable. You must bring a physical waterproof map.
A physical map.
Yes, a physical map is a real printed map made of special paper or cloth. It will not tear or break if it gets wet from the lake water.
That is brilliant.
This kind of map clearly shows all the safe channels, the hidden rocks, and the campsite locations. It is really the only safe way to navigate.
Buying a waterproof map is a vital tip. You can usually pick one up at the Park Visitor Center before you get on a boat.
Yes, make sure you buy one.
Now that we know how to travel safely on the water, let's talk about the actual destinations. What are the must-see attractions out there on the islands?
Well, one of the most unique places you can visit by boat is called the Ellsworth Rock Gardens.
The Ellsworth Rock Garden.
Yes, people actually call this place the showplace of Lake Kabetogama.
A rock garden hidden on an island. I saw in our research that it was built by a man named Jack Ellsworth,
That is right.
and he is known as a self-taught artist. That is a great term for our contextual class from today. Let's explain what that means.
Okay, an artist is someone who creates beautiful things, like paintings, music, or gardens.
Right.
When we say someone is self-taught, it means they never went to a formal school to learn their craft. They did not have a professional teacher.
They taught themselves.
Exactly. They learned how to do it completely on their own through practice and hard work.
So Jack Ellsworth learned how to build this garden completely by himself.
Yes. And he did not bring in fancy building materials from a big city. He used natural rocks and native plants right from the forest.
That is amazing.
He stacked massive, heavy stones to build a beautiful art environment right in the middle of the wild.
It sounds incredible. You just take your boat up to the rock garden, tie it to the dock, and walk around looking at the amazing things he built with his own two hands.
It really is a perfect combination of human art and wild nature.
It definitely sounds like a must-see spot.
Yeah.
Is there another special destination out there on the water?
Yes. There's a very famous spot called the Kettle Falls Hotel.
A hotel?
Yes, a historic old building with a bright red roof. But what makes it so interesting is not just the history, it is the location.
Where is it?
This hotel is located 15 miles away from the nearest road.
15 miles from a road. That means there are no cars driving by, no delivery trucks, nothing.
Nothing at all. You can only get there by boat. When you finally arrive, it is incredibly peaceful. You can have a nice meal, enjoy the quiet water, and feel like you have traveled back in time.
Some people love the idea of staying in a historic hotel like that, but many visitors go to Voyageurs because they want to sleep outside in a tent.
Oh, absolutely.
They want to experience real camping under the trees.
Camping is extremely popular on these islands, but there is a catch.
What is the catch?
You cannot just arrive, find an empty island, and set up your tent wherever you want. You must plan ahead.
Right. Here is a logistics tip for your travel planning. You need to get permission from the park before you sleep there. In English, we say you need to reserve a campsite.
Reserve a campsite. That means you choose your specific spot on the island and pay for it online long before you actually arrive at the park.
Exactly. For summer camping in Voyageurs National Park, those permits become available online starting November 15th.
November 15th. That is very early.
It is. You have to use a government website called recreation.gov. It is very popular, so the good spots go fast. Remember the phrase, I need to reserve a campsite.
If you show up in July without reserving a campsite first, you probably will not have a place to sleep.
And that would be a terrible surprise after a long day of boating.
Very true.
Now, if you're sleeping outside in a tent on these islands, you have to remember that you are not alone.
You are definitely not alone.
You are visiting the home of many wild animals. Let's talk about the wildlife and the safety rules you need to know.
The animals in Voyageurs are truly spectacular. In fact, our source material has a great true story about a tourist meeting some wildlife.
I love reading the true stories from the parks. What happened to this tourist?
Well, there was a hiker walking along a beautiful green trail on a warm summer day.
Okay.
The hiker turned a corner and suddenly saw a plump black bear sitting right in the middle of the walking path.
A plump bear. Let's define that. That means the bear was a little bit round and heavy, right?
Yes, plump means slightly round. Usually, animals get plump when they're eating very well.
She was eating well.
She was eating extremely well. The bear was sitting there because she had found a massive patch of wild blueberries.
Oh, wow.
She was completely focused on eating a delicious lunch. She did not really care about the hiker.
That is a scary moment for a tourist.
Yeah.
But I know from our safety notes that you should never, ever run away from a bear.
No, never run. Running triggers their instinct to chase you.
What did the hiker do?
The hiker was very smart. Instead of running, the hiker stopped, stood back at a safe distance, and used a loud, calm voice. The hiker simply said, "Hey, bear."
Hey, bear. It is a classic phrase hikers use to let animals know a human is nearby.
Exactly. The hiker said it several times. At first, the bear completely ignored the hiker. She just kept eating her sweet blueberries.
Bears love their berries.
They do. Finally, the hiker tapped a foot loudly on the ground and said, "Hey, bear, one more time."
Did it work?
Yes. The bear looked back, finished her mouthful of berries, and slowly walked away into the dark forest.
That is a perfect example of how to handle the situation calmly. We can use this story to learn some vital travel safety English.
We definitely should.
Let's talk about 2 important safety rules for your trip.
Rule number 1 is essential for any national park.
Rule number 1 is keep your distance. That simply means you must stay far away from the wild animals. Do not try to get close for a picture.
Especially for bears and for large animals like moose, tourists must stay 50 to 100 yards away.
A yard is about 1 large step for an adult. So you must stay 50 to 100 large steps away from these animals at all times. Keep your distance.
That is a great way to measure it.
What is rule number 2?
Rule number 2 is do not feed the animals. You must never give human food to a wild animal, no matter how cute they look.
Never.
The park actually uses a very serious rhyming phrase to help visitors remember this rule.
I saw that phrase in the guide. It is very direct. The phrase is, a fed bear is a dead bear.
It sounds harsh, but it is completely true. Why do the park rangers say a fed bear is a dead bear?
Because if a bear eats human food, like crackers or hot dogs from your campsite, it stops being afraid of humans.
Right.
It learns that humans equal easy food. The bear will start coming into campsites looking for more. It becomes very aggressive and dangerous to people.
And when a bear becomes a danger to humans, the park rangers sadly have to kill the bear to protect the tourists.
Exactly. So by keeping your food locked away and not feeding the bear, you are literally saving the animal's life.
It is the most important way to respect the wildlife.
We have talked about bears, but what other amazing animals might you see in Voyageurs?
Well, if you hike the Cruiser Lake Trail, you have a very good chance of seeing a moose. Yes. A moose is a giant, heavy animal with massive flat horns. They love standing in the shallow water to eat water plants.
They are so big.
You might also look up and see bald eagles flying high in the sky, hunting for fish.
Bald eagles are incredibly beautiful, big birds. Seeing one fly over a lake is an unforgettable experience.
And if you are relaxing near the water in the evening, you will definitely hear the loons.
I love the loons.
A loon is a special water bird and makes a very famous echoing call that travels across the lakes at sunset. It sounds a little bit like a wild, beautiful, sad song.
It is the true sound of the northern wilderness.
You can also look for beavers. Beavers are small, busy animals with large, flat
They
tails.
don't build things, right?
Yes, they live in the water and have incredibly strong teeth. In fact, there is a path in the park called the Black Bay Beaver Pond Trail. If you walk on this trail, you can actually see large trees that have been completely chewed down by beavers.
Beavers chew down whole trees just to build their homes in the water. It is amazing to see their hard work up close.
It really is.
So far, we have only talked about visiting the park in the warm summer months. But this park does not close when the weather gets cold.
No, it stays open.
Let's talk about the winter magic here and look beyond the scenery.
Winter in Voyageurs is completely different. When the winter months arrive, the weather gets freezing cold. And I do not just mean a little chilly, I mean freezing.
When you say freezing, you mean the water of those massive lakes actually turns to thick ice?
Yes. The lakes freeze completely solid. The ice becomes so thick and so strong that you do not need a boat to travel anymore. The water becomes the road.
I read about this and it still amazes me. The park actually opens up ice roads in the winter. You can drive your normal car right on top of the frozen lake.
It sounds a bit scary if you are not used to it, but it is a very real and safe tradition there.
That is wild.
The most famous route is called the Rainy Lake Ice Road. Visitors drive their cars for miles across the ice. People also ride fast snowmobiles across the frozen water.
And people go fishing too, right?
Yes, many tourists go ice fishing. They use special tools to drill a deep hole through the thick ice. Then they catch fresh fish from the dark, cold water below.
Driving a heavy car on a frozen lake is true winter magic. It is such a unique way to experience a national park.
It really is special.
Now let's look beyond the scenery. We always like to share a little bit about the history of the land itself. Where does the name Voyageurs actually come from?
The word voyageurs is a French word. It simply means travelers.
Travelers.
Yes. The park is named after the French-Canadian fur traders who traveled through this exact area about 250 years ago.
Who exactly were these fur traders? What were they doing out in the wilderness?
They were tough, hardworking men who paddled massive, heavy canoes through these lakes. They were trading animal furs, especially beaver skins.
Why beaver skins?
Because they were used to make warm hats and coats in Europe. These men paddled for up to 14 hours a day, carrying heavy loads. And they were famous for singing loud songs together to keep their energy up while they rowed.
It is incredible to think about paddling a giant canoe through those freezing waters all day long. So the park honors their history of traveling on these waters.
Yes, but those French-Canadian men were not the first people to live there.
No, not at all.
Long before the voyageurs arrived, Native American people lived on these lakes. The Chippewa people, who are also known as the Ojibwe, have lived on this land and navigated these waterways for over 9,000 years.
9,000 years is a staggering amount of time. They knew how to survive the harsh winters and navigate the 500 islands long before maps or modern boats existed.
They deeply understood the land and the water.
He really did.
And whether you visit today in the summer to kayak or in the winter to drive on the ice roads, there is one more thing you must do. You have to wait for the sun to go down, step outside, and look up at the night sky.
Because the park is so far away from cities and highways, there are no streetlights or buildings to ruin the view. The sky is completely, incredibly dark.
That pure dark sky makes Voyageurs a perfect place to see thousands of bright, clear stars. But if you are lucky, it is also a perfect place to see a very special natural light show.
Let's use our contextual classroom one last time today. The scientific name for this amazing light show is the aurora borealis.
The aurora borealis.
Yes, but when people talk casually in English, they use a much more common name. What do we usually call the aurora borealis?
We usually call them the northern lights.
The northern lights. That is a wonderful phrase to add to your vocabulary. If a tourist is lucky enough to see them, what do they actually look like?
They are radiant, shimmering colors that light up the dark night sky.
Radiant and shimmering.
Yes, when we say radiant, we mean they glow very brightly in the dark, and shimmering means the light is not perfectly still. It looks like it is softly moving or dancing across the sky.
What color are they?
Usually you will see a bright, glowing green color, but sometimes you can even see purple or pink moving through the stars.
Watching the bright green northern lights dancing over a perfectly quiet frozen lake sounds like a memory you would keep for the rest of your life.
It absolutely is.
We have covered so much fascinating information today. Before we finish, let's do a quick review of the practical English phrases we learned for your trip.
That is a great idea. It is always good to practice.
First, when you arrive and need a boat, you can walk up to the counter and say, "I would like to rent a canoe." Or if you want a professional guide to drive you, simply ask, "How do I book a water taxi?"
And please remember the most important safety warning. Your cell phone will not have a signal. You must bring a physical waterproof map to navigate the islands.
If you want to sleep outside in a tent, you cannot just show up. You must use the website recreation.gov to reserve a campsite well before your trip.
And if you are lucky enough to see a wild bear or a giant moose on the trail, always follow the safety rules. Keep your distance. And remember the rhyme, a fed bear is a dead bear. Never share your human food with the wildlife.
Practicing these simple English phrases will give you so much confidence on your trip. You will be completely ready for a true wilderness adventure on the water.
Before we close our deep dive today, I want to leave you with a final thought. We always want to give you something to ponder, something to think about on your own time.
I always look forward to this. What is your final thought for us today?
Voyageurs National Park is one of the very few places left in the country where you can experience absolute pure silence. because there are no roads, there are no cars driving by, there is no city noise, no loud construction machines, and no cell phones ringing.
It is completely disconnected from the noise of our daily lives.
Yes. When you sit on an island, the only things you hear are the wind moving through the pine trees, the water splashing against the ancient rocks, and maybe the sound of wild wolves howling far away in the dark.
Just nature.
Exactly. So here is my question for you. When we finally step away from our loud, fast, modern world and we experience true, deep silence in nature, how does it change the way we think and feel?
That is a beautiful question to think about. True silence can really change your perspective and calm your mind. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Voyageurs National Park. We hope you enjoyed exploring the lakes and learning with us today. Keep practicing your English, keep learning new phrases, and keep exploring the beautiful world around you.